And we are now live here on Sportswire Radio, also Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And he's almost become a regular here at this point on Sportswire Radio. I've lost count on how many times we've had him on here. He was a huge part of the LWF's most recent event, Marching On, where he unfortunately came up short here in those tag team championship match against the team of the Wrecking Crew, and of course his arch nemesis Davey Getzky and Chris Stone, the first ever and the only ever LWF Tag Team Champions. And alongside him was his tag team partner, none other than Mr. Conrad Blaze. And always, though, excited to speak with him. And without further ado, here on the Sports Report, the #1 global sports show here, pro wrestling star here from the LWF, the Scenario, Nathan Gunn. My friend, how are you?
That intro gets better every time. It's better every time. Huge fan of that. I'm all right, yourself?
I'm very good. I'm a little disappointed, though, that you came up short here on the tag team championship matches that we were certainly hoping for, that you would have came up short here. We're just checking out here our systems for our audio here, and I'm getting some feedback here. Let me see, though, if we're on here. Something tells me that we may or may not be. Let's see if I can hear everybody here. So we're going to, I think it's going to take our headset off here. That's going to be the problem, because I knew that would be the problem. So let's now try it again. I think everybody should hear us now for now. And how you doing, my friend?
I blame him. We know it's his fault. It'll be somewhere there, man. You just take a look behind you.
Well, let's not hope that it's Mr. Getzky. Let's certainly hope that it is not Mr.
Always
Getzky.
Mr. Getzky.
Well, I'm sure he'll pop on here, but obviously it is good to be with you here, my friend, and a lot to get into here over the little while here that we have. And set the tables for us, because we will get into last year's Slamaganza with you, but unfortunately you did come up short in a tag team title match against the team of the Wrecking Crew. That's Davey Getzky and, of course, Mr. Chris Stone. That's why we wanted to find a headset, because I have a ringtone here that's going on and off here, and it's really annoying, but that's kind of what goes here in the radio business. But set the tables for us on why you guys came up short here in the tag team championship match here at Marching On against the team of the Wrecking Crews, Davey Getzky and Chris Stone.
Well, look, we gave it our all. We had a plan. We knew that they'd come out and try a little sneaky tactic, and they did. They didn't disappoint. We knew they'd do it. We were ready for it. We dealt with it. They came back into the match strong. They're talented boys. I've got to give them their due, haven't I? Really. I mean, I can't take it from them at this point.
What has gotten into the fact that every time I feel like I'm on this station talking about you and Davey Getzky, and yet at the end of the day, regardless, the outcome in some way or another is very similar?
Honestly, I tell you what, way back, the outcome used to be very favourable to Mr. Gunn, but tell you what,
I've known you for almost a year now, and it's like we've had this happen several times with you and him on, and what gives?
Before that year, honestly, I used to do quite well against him, but he's clearly been studying, hasn't he? Watching the tapes back, and he went out and got 25 abs, and that's done it.
Well, Rick Marcus definitely lent him those 25 abs.
Yes, yeah.
Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Marcus that certainly lent him those abs. So clearly, Mr. Getzky's abs are certainly brought to you by the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Marcus.
They're very distracted in the match, blinded me at one point. But no, yeah, he's I've got to give him the due. I know they're talented lads. Not great people.
I don't think, listen, certainly Mr. Bibby and Mr. Fitzgerald would certainly agree with you on that, and certainly many at the Buckshot Village Community Center here would certainly mention that. But, I mean, there is one thing of note, I guess you could say, that's a silver lining here in the outcome of this match, and for what it's worth, is that you weren't the guy that took the fall this time. It was, unfortunately, your tag team partner. So, I mean, if there is a silver lining here, you sort of live another day. Talk to me about that.
Well, yeah, no, I mean that's fair. Look, I don't want to put all the blame on Conrad Blaze. We had a game plan, and to be fair to him, I saw the final move from Chris Stone really late, and I tried to get in and help him, but I couldn't quite get there. I'd been busy dealing with Dave, beating him around the arena. I'm sure he won't like to remember that, but no, yeah, I felt really good about it. I felt that we had them a few points. Maybe we just got unlucky. Maybe I got a bit tunnel visiony, and maybe I couldn't take my eyes off Getski. I mean, we were walking around the arena, and I was throwing him into the food area because he looked hungry. I mean, I assume he never eats with abs like that. So,
well, you could certainly make that determination. That is certainly a fair point for one to certainly decipher there. But I almost hate to ask you this because you were beating up Davey Getski and certainly doing a number on him. Was it a twisted way? Was that Mr. Getski's plan all along at the Buckshore Village Community Center to get you riled up and to where Mr. Stone would do a number on your tag team partner, Conrad Blaze? Because certainly Mr. Stone would have the advantage over Mr. Blaze.
I don't know if it was his plan. Maybe you're giving him too much credit. I don't know. I don't know how evil genius Mr. Getski is. But I mean, I suppose
Well, he's not well liked too much in the LWF. I mean, it's pretty fair.
certainly not. No. Certainly not, my friend. No. Yeah. If it was his plan, I guess it kind of worked. I mean, he spent the entire night in pain. But
And speaking of Mr. Getski here, while I get to my headphones very quickly here because I have unfortunately some distractions here of note here. But one-on-one here, Davey Getski says here that it will end one last time. So, I mean, what do you say to that here?
one last time with David Getski. Yeah, I think sign me up. Sign me up. We need to Getski on here or something. Sign me up. Look, I had him. He can say all he wants, but I had him.
And certainly Mr. Getski also chimes in here and says, "You verse all my abs." So I guess would that mean 25?
I'm not about it 25 on one. I don't like those odds.
I think the LWF roster put together doesn't have 25 abs.
No, because he stole them all. They're all on him.
Absolutely. I mean,
Absolutely indeed.
How do you think he stole those abs, though?
Oh, I have no idea, man. I have no idea what his workout routine consists of. He never eats a hot dog, though, does he? Look at him.
Well, so I hear Mr. Getski certainly he gets paid in hot dogs by Mr. Bibby. So does that mean he's not being paid in hot dogs?
0 calories on that boy. He always has to interrupt, doesn't he? I can never have a moment with you. Just to chat friend to friend. I can never have that.
There we are. Wait, there we are. And there we go.
Is he up to no good again? Is he?
Yeah, I needed headphones because I unfortunately that's kind of how it goes here. I'm kind of doing this shotgun here, but certainly, I mean, listen, is that a challenge that Mr. Getski is putting out there? That it's a one-on-one matchup, maybe one more time here, one more for the road. I mean, certainly it was announced today that Triple H was announcing his retirement from active in-ring competition. I think back to his certainly legendary feud with Cactus Jack Mankind, and it was sort of a retirement match there in a couple of different ways for Mick Foley, though he never really retired. But I guess in one sense, for you this year, Nathan Gunn, one last time. I mean, is that a challenge? Do you think Mr. Bibby would have any thoughts on that? I mean, what's your thoughts?
Well, I don't know Mr. Bibby's thoughts on it. I mean, hopefully he gives me one last shot. I mean, look, Dave's just asked for it here. That's an exclusive demand for a match, isn't it? I mean, I saw that. So, I'm happy to go one more time with David Getski. I had him that night, man. I had him. He was in the back, hot dogs in hand. I was slapping him out of his mouth.
Well, I mean, certainly, I guess that means then no hot dogs. Maybe somebody else had the hot dogs, and maybe that was the problem. I don't know, but I mean, why do you think it's been this way between you and Getsky? Why? I mean, again, I'm just trying to figure this out because I've had you on a bunch of times. This isn't the first, the second, the third, the fourth. This is almost, I think, like the fifth or sixth time we've had you on, and it's the same thing here. I mean, is there something that you just can't get over the hump here? You can't get over the finish line between, you and Getsky in some way or another? I mean, we thought this time that you for sure were going to get the job done here. Everything was set up the way you did it with that raffle challenge, the way that you had this set up to, this was going to be your match to win it and to have gold to boot. And yet we're talking it's the same outcome.
Yeah, it's insanely frustrating on my end as well, my friend. Honestly, like I said, we've known each other nearly a year. Pre that, oddly enough, you'd have been talking to Mr. Getsky about his losses to Mr. Gunn pre that year, but he's putting the work, and I've got to admit I'm struggling with him these days. He's really stepped his game up. But like I said, I think I had him at the last show at Marching On. I think I had him. He was really struggling to deal with me. I took my eye off the ball, and I took my eye off the ring, and it literally just takes 3 seconds, and that was it.
1, 2, 3. That's what it takes. I mean,
I couldn't get back to the ring.
This is kind of a microcosm of you the last year in the LWF. I know that Wildfire Nate Reese, and I'm sure we'll get to, I mean, he had similar luck to you, and he changed his ways, quote unquote, and he's had better luck. I mean, I'm not telling you to all of a sudden change your ways here, but your luck the last year hasn't been very good.
Hey, it's occurred to me and to Conrad Blaze. We need to mix things up. We need to try different approaches. I don't know about trying a Nate Reese approach, which is what, just be a jerk to everyone. Is that his new approach? I don't.
Well, some would allege that.
I'm not really a fan of that approach, but we certainly need to change some things. And I look one more time with David Getsky. Maybe that fixes my tunnel vision. Maybe I won't just be seeing him around every corner because I need to deal with him, don't I? I need to get some credibility back when it comes to fighting him.
Oh, you certainly do need that, and of course, we certainly want everybody to follow the scenario Nathan Gunn also on Instagram at Pro Nathan Gunn, the LWF at the LWF Wrestling here, and also Twitter LWF the, and we are talking all things related here to the world of the LWF with pro wrestling star here in a very, very familiar face. That is the scenario Nathan Gunn. I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryson. If you like what you hear from us on Sportswire Radio, please do give us a like on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. And 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you can listen to all of our great content anytime on sportnarium.com/player. And also, the scenario Nathan Gunn, please follow him again on Instagram. And maybe you do want to follow David Getsky. He's a frequent commentator. Anytime the scenario Nathan Gunn comes on here. Also, Wildfire Nate Reese will join us here in a little while. And the asset Stephen Cross, unfortunately, we were supposed to have on, but I think we're a little bit over time here because, well, as predicted, Wildfire Nate Reese spoke quite a bit about his upcoming match here, where it's, again, an interesting one. I don't know if we've had this before in the LWF, and we'll get to that here in a few minutes. But speaking of Mr. Getsky, and I want to plug something actually you were a part of because it's actually a part of now the LWF's YouTube page, and that is from last year's Slamagains, where we were first talking about you, my friend. Your match with Davey Getsky is up, and certainly that was one of the better matches I've seen here in a long time from top to bottom. And unfortunately, you came up short, but in my mind, both of you guys were winners because it was one of certainly the better matches that I've seen in quite a while when it comes to the LWF.
Yeah, no, we as much as I hate his guts, I I did actually answer a question about who my favourite opponent was recently, and I had to say David Getski. So I do think he brings the best out of me. So yeah, no, we tore the house down that day, and yeah, that was the start of the problematic
Well, I remember having you on
downward
and him
slope.
on, and that was kind of the downward spiral, pretty much. I mean, you
It
could
was,
safely
yeah.
say that was the downward spiral. Kind of feel like how my day is going in my own right, but that's here nor there, and certainly been ask me when my voice will hold up or not hold up here in about four
No,
or
you're doing
five
well.
hours.
You're doing well, man.
Well, we'll see. I've got another show to go live in America in about 3.5 hours, and I've already spoke with you and I spoke with Nate Reese. So we'll certainly see how that all holds up. But I mean, again, one of the things I'll take away from the match is that you certainly suplex off the top rope, the back and forth outside the ring, and also the moonsault. I mean, I think that's where you really the idea was great, but that's where the match kind of went south, my friend. What were you thinking in attempting that moonsault off the top rope?
I don't know, man. To be honest, I thought, you know what, I feel it. I feel the crowd. Big superplex. You know, nearly had him off it. I thought, you know what, I don't go up a lot. Why not a gun salt? That's what I thought. I thought it's time. It wasn't time. It's a mistake. And I ate a very swift knee after that.
Well, you did eat a swift knee. There's no question that you definitely ate a swift knee here, to say the least. And you were definitely down for the count here. I mean,
Well,
what?
I took the knee and I managed to get a shoulder up off the knee, but he came back with another, and it was just too much. But I guess that's what happens when you go high risk, isn't it?
No question about it. I mean, certainly, if you want to bear with me here, I'm going to change my location. You got to give me 30 seconds for station identification, because I'm never going to be able to hear you here in a second. So I do want to put a comment on the screen here. There's a guy here that may or may not know Bob Costin. He says here, Nathan Gunn, PEW. Is it Pew? I don't know what it might be, but that's certainly
Guns always pewing, I guess.
well, it is, certainly, say the least. But give me about 30 seconds for station
No
identification
problem.
here on Sportswire Radio, and we're going to change our location, and we'll be right with you here. So give me 30 seconds or so. I apologize for the inconvenience. Okay. All right, and we are back. Unfortunately, that's kind of the day I've been having, the Sir Nathan Gunn, but that's okay. We'll certainly we'll go and bear with it. And I mean, that does kind of lead me in here, because I don't want to tip the person's hand here, because it does say here somebody that might look like Bob Costin or might be a fan of Bob Costin's. Let me put it that way, and I'll bring it up. And apparently there's going to be a stipulation now added to the and there again here, I've got to put this comment on the screen here, because this individual certainly claims here, and I'm going to do it for him because I know he likes this, and I heard this in the locker room. I'll say it for him. The number one Bob Costin stooge here that's on. Not Nate Reese stooge. Bob Costin stooge that's on here. And apparently this individual that's, I guess you could say, might be related or a fan of Mr. Costin's, he is in a stipulation that he might be looking like, let's say, Stone Cold Steve Austin, rather than, let's say, the individual I'm looking at here on the screen. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Mr. Gunn. And speaking of Nate Reese, and we kind of mentioned him at the top, I mean, I've got to ask you, I mean, what's your thoughts on this four-way match here between Tonga, Kelly Van Ness, Wildfire Nate Reese, and Bob Costin, where whoever gets pinned, they're going to be sporting a bald-headed, stone-cold Steve Austin look.
Yeah, it's a rough end of the stick for Bob Costin, isn't it? I mean, those lovely locks.
Very rough look. I mean, Bob Costin, I mean, if you're listening and watching this, I mean, you might not be sporting the same look you have right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, who came up with this stipulation? Was it Nate, by any chance? I mean, he hasn't got a lot to lose, has he?
Well, I mean, listen, I don't know if Nate Reese came up to it, but certainly I will say Nate Reese took something from Bob Costin a couple of weeks ago, and that was a piece of hair.
Yeah, no, he rose from under the ring, didn't he? From out of nowhere, as it were.
Oh, I certainly out of nowhere. I mean, I have to almost imply, I mean, maybe you should have thought about that in some way. And maybe that would have helped with Getsky.
Well, it was after the tag title match. If he'd have done it pre-hand, I might have thought about it.
True. So what do you think happens here? I mean, I'm not going to put you on the spot, and who do you think wins? But, I mean, listen, if Nate Reese has a bald head, I got to be honest, and I said this to Nate the other day, I don't think it's really that much of a big deal. But certainly the other three opponents, if they have a bald head, I mean...
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I mean, it's got to be Nate's stipulation, hasn't it? Because he's got very little to lose. But no, I think if you're Bob, or if you're Kelly Van Ness,
Bob, why would you have agreed to this if you're Bob Costin? I mean, certainly. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think Bob's agreed to it probably in the moment. You know, after the call it the slight hair removal incident. Yeah,
I think
in the moment
since that slight removal of his hair. I mean,
I saw him backstage. He wasn't a happy man, shall we say?
And speaking of not so happy men here, happy men, there is an individual that again might be a fan of maybe one half of the tag team champions of the LWF of the Wrecking Crew, Chris Stone. That is Christopher Shaw, and he says here, Nathan Gunn again, you need better guests, with kind of a emoji here with a kind of a laughing with maybe a smirk there. I mean, you have any comments, any reactions toward that here?
Well, I think this individual commented last time, and they said something rather not for radio, didn't they? As I recall,
yes,
began with the P, didn't it? Yeah,
that was
I would say he's that. That's what I'd have to say to that individual.
Would you like to? Do you think you might know that individual? Do you think you've ever seen him before? Because I think this was the individual that also talked about maybe you not being at the party afterwards at the marching on. And this is certainly an individual that does like to party, and certainly, like Mr. Getsky, is kind of on a new look here. It's maybe a new and improved.
Yeah, he's got a new look, but there's only one guy who truly parties, isn't there? I mean, they've both got great looks.
Listen,
right?
And nobody's got Billy and Bart like you.
Nobody
has a hat like yours. Nobody parties like you, my friend. Nobody. There is only one, the scenario Nathan Gunn. I would certainly add that.
That's the hype I needed there. No, look. Lads are looking good. There's no doubt about it. Chris Stone's looking good. David Getsky's looking good. But don't either of them party like me. And hey, maybe I should take a little step back from partying at the minute. I just can't do it. I just can't do it.
And we have another comment from this individual, and this individual chimes in here and says, and now this is actually Chris Stone, not even Mr. Shaw. Apparently, I guess Mr. Shaw and Mr. Stone may know each other. I don't know. I can't confirm, can't deny. And he says here, What
Twins, maybe.
happened, Gunn? No title around your waist. I mean, that's a legitimate point from one half of the tag team championship. In fact, we've heard not only from one half, but we've heard of both from the tag team champions here tonight from the LWF. And that is obviously Davey Getzky and Chris Stone. I mean, what do you have to say toward that, my friend? What happened, Gunn? No title around your waist.
I can't say more than I've already said. Yeah, I'm aware there's no title around my waist. It hurts, stings. But I felt like I had Davey. I felt like I had him. I was beating him up and down the arena, and I got a bit carried away. I got tunnel visioned. If I had a split second earlier seen Stone hit Blaze with that jackhammer, a second earlier I'd have been there. I'd have broke it up. We'd have been back on him. But that's how this game is played. Seconds, isn't it? Fine margins.
It's 3 seconds. Listen, I mean, there's no question that, at any given time, a blink of an eye, as they would say. But how much have you thought about it now that you guys came up short again? I mean, he's got a point, Chris Stone, one half of the tag team champions here in the LWF. You don't have gold around your waist. I mean, that's a big deal. This was arguably the biggest match of your career when we spoke. I mean, how much have you thought about this?
Look, we thought about it. Me and Blaze talked about it afterwards. He said to me that he was sorry he couldn't get his shoulder up, and I said it's all right, but we need to do maybe some rethinking, maybe just new game plans because it ain't working. It hasn't worked the last couple of shows, but I don't think we've been far off. I know that the record book records a loss, doesn't it? But
it doesn't tell you if you were the closest. It doesn't
Exactly.
tell you how much you were blown out by. It tells you loss is a loss. And again, Chris Stone says short again, and this time he emphasizes it again. I mean,
yeah, look, that emphasis rings in my head. I mean, Chris Stone, we know he's a jerk, don't we? We know he's a jerk, so he's going to rub it in, and I expected it. I can take it. It's all right. But, it rings in my head, and let's just say, well, hey, let's see how this one more with David Getzky goes, if it happens. I'm up for it.
I almost have to ask, because we're going to have on Mikey Fitz before Slamaganza, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. I don't want to put words in management's mouth. I don't want to put words in Mr. Getzky's mouth, because he's going to be listening. Something tells me I'm going to have you on again before Slamaganza. But is there a place, a time, a date that you would like to maybe have one more shot at Davey Getzky?
Every day, man. I want one more shot at David Getzky at the minute. It's
But not
like
every day you can have a shot. There's only certain places that you can have him at. Listen, now we have the footage. The footage is out there from Slamaganza last year, now on the LWF's YouTube page, where you came up short. We've spoke with you time and time again, and you've come up short. I mean, where would you want this? If it's going to be one more, are you at the mercy of Mr. Getzky? Who picks this? Remember, you picked the stipulation. You had the home field advantage, technically. This was supposed to be set up where you were going to win this match. You were going to now be one half of the tag team champions. And yet, again, you came up short. This is almost like in one of my day jobs where I do the political thing and I work for the candidates and the candidates lose. And they come back and say, Tom, you lost with another candidate. You lost with another election. You're in the same boat as me in that sense. I mean, but who picks the stipulation now? You might just be at the behest of Mr. Getzky.
I don't think so. I think that, I mean, he's come on here and he's the one who said one more. Yeah, he said that, not me, and it's because marching on's tag match is weighing in his head. I had him the whole match. I got tunnel visioned.
By this much. I got tunnel visioned.
I was busy dealing with him, throwing him around in the backstage areas, and I should have focused on the in ring. But if it's 1-on-1, I can't get tunnel visioned. I can't be distracted. So it'll just be
Well,
me and
what
him.
will be different? What will you now? No, don't tell me the strategy. Don't tell me the plan, because you know Getsky and Stone are listening. You know Cutter's out there, and he's telling them to come on here. He's telling them that they have to know what you're doing because they're using it to their advantage. You know that people from the LWF watch and listen to us. You've been on here before. You know the deal. I mean, don't tell me the strategy, but how will you make sure it will be a different outcome?
Well, I'd say all the normal expletives, and I'd be here going, "Oh, I'll take my best to him," and I'll, you know. But let's be fair, my best hasn't been good enough, has it? So,
unfortunately, it hasn't. I mean, I have to say it. When was the last time you won a match? I love you, man. You're like a bro, but I'm trying to think, when was the last time you won a match in the LWF? And I just had on Wildfire Nate Reese before, and Wildfire Nate Reese was talking about the fact that Bob Costin cost him his chance at a championship. Now, I'm not going to say just yet Conrad Blaze was the guy that cost you, but he talked about the fact that he was on a short end of the stick like you were. I mean, when was the last time you won a match?
Maybe 3-4 shows back. You know, I pick up some wins in tag matches. I just can't seem to get over that hurdle known as Getsky at the moment. He's a real thorn in my side.
Do you have to maybe train with somebody that looks like Davey Getsky? Maybe you need somebody that's like almost like a simulated version of Davey Getsky. Maybe that's what you need.
I have his face on a punching bag. That's
Mr. Getsky and Mr. Stone, if you're listening, you heard it here first on Sportswire Radio. The scenario Nathan Gunn is going to purchase a punching bag, and on the punching bag, he's going to put on a picture of Davey Getsky. So certainly stay tuned for that here. I mean, as we are talking all things related here for about 10 or 15 minutes or so with the scenario Nathan Gunn, and certainly, of course, if you like what you hear from the scenario Nathan Gunn, do follow him on Instagram at Pro Nathan Gunn, and I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryson. We will speak with the asset Stephen Cross. It looks like now Monday night, because we've run into, unfortunately, some scheduling conflicts here, and we had Wildfire Nate Reese go on a little late, and I actually went on a little late because I had a couple different things scheduled in between, and I apologize for that for those who are watching and listening to this, and I certainly apologize earlier on for some technical difficulties. I have family over, and it was kind of unannounced, and I didn't expect to be on the air at this time. So it's one of those things. But things do happen. Obviously, listen, life does get in the way. But we are always excited to have a party with the scenario Nathan Gunn. He's got Billy and Bart, and something tells me with Billy and Bart out there, Davey Getsky is still going to have a run for his money. Davey Getsky's still going to be in for a world of hurt, and certainly anybody on the LWF's roster, when somebody's got Billy and Bart, he's got that hat in the background, he's got that party with the lights on those hats, I am never going to count out the scenario Nathan Gunn here by a long shot here. There is no question I will never count him out. But, I mean, for you, my friend, what do you want to say to the LWF audience right now?
I think what I want to say is, I don't know, I guess I'm going to apologise for letting you down at marching on. You know, I've said it a few times there. I tunnel visioned, you know, and I've watched it back, and I could hear you. I could hear you warning me. You were saying, you know, Conrad Blaze was struggling, turn around, but I couldn't. You know, I had to deliver Billy and Bart to Mr. Getsky, didn't I? You know, I had to. So I guess I want to apologize to you guys. And
we have another comment here from I guess again, and maybe an associate of Bob Costin's, and I have to put it out there for that associate to Mr. Costin, because we put it out there, and you'll hear our segment with Wildfire Nate Reese tomorrow night on Sportswire Radio, and we had said that in the segment that we had asked if Mr. Costin would want to come on and speak about his match upcoming in his stipulation with his tag team partner Kelly Van Ness against Tonga and Wildfire Nate Reese. So I'll put it out there if Mr. Costin would like to come back on before Slamaganza. But for the associate of Bob Costin's he has on here is Nathan Gunn coming to the after party. And where is the party and when is the after party? That's what I want to know.
There is no after party without me. This associate of Mr. Costin should know that. Or
nobody brings the ladies like you. I still say nobody brings the ladies like you.
When you bring the party like Nathan Gunn, everything else falls into place, doesn't it?
I got a song for you. For whatever reason, considering nobody brings the party like you, and I'm sure I'm going to get in so much trouble because I know that, listen, Getsky's going to hear this, Stone's going to hear this, Reese is going to hear this, Cross is going to hear this, Bibby and Fitzgerald. But for you, your song when you're at a party should be Pitbull, Don't Stop the Party. That's what it should be.
Never stop the party. Maybe that could be a little gun move.
And don't stop the party. You could probably sing that song. Knowing you probably could belt out that tune.
I need that when you come over. I need that kind of party and energy.
I'm going to definitely be coming because listen, we are definitely going to have a party. Listen, I'm trying to think about what Pitbull was singing in Spanish and he was on the boat and dun 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 dun. That's all I'm going to say. This is going to be the topic now of the locker room. You just watch, but in all seriousness, that should be so. For this associate of Mr. Costin's, I'm going to request whoever is the DJ at the next party that the scenario Nathan Gunn is a part of, that we play Pitbull, Don't Stop the Party. Because something tells me that the party never is going to stop unless we have the scenario Nathan Gunn and that Pitbull song. So that's certainly what I'm going to add to that.
I'll request it for you. We'll get it on. We'll get it on in your honor. We'll get on the number one gun tune.
I'm going to say it. You know what? Since we have a fan here of Bob Costin, and I get requested for this all the time in all walks of life, and I'm going to do it just for him and just for you. I'm going to do it first for him and then for you. So first for him is the number one.
There it is.
Global Sports Show, the Sports Report, but the number one good guy of the LWF, that is Bob Costin. And then the person who brings the number one party to the LWF, the scenario, Nathan Gunn.
It's beautiful. The thing of beauty is that
we do it all the time. Listen, we only
let me tell you, the locker room loves the number one. Let me tell you.
I've heard it certainly from the locker room, and I've heard it pretty much from everybody. And I won't say who, I won't say when they said it, I won't say all those things, but certainly it won't be the first, and it won't be the last. And certainly, again, I do want to give a shout out to Mr. Costin because, like I said, Mr. Reese has been beating up on Mr. Costin, and we like Mr. Costin maybe to balance things out a little bit. But I did want to, speaking of Mr. Costin, I know that we have an LWF Academy show upcoming next weekend, and was wondering your thoughts, or maybe you'd make an appearance there.
Hey, well, yeah, you never say never. You know, Gunn's happy to bring the party wherever you want it. But no, yeah, another great Academy show, another good opportunity to showcase some maybe LWF talent that doesn't get the spotlight.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So no, it should be another great show. I assume you saw the last one because that is also up on the LWF YouTube channel.
And I saw who opened the match. It was none other than Bob Costin, and certainly Wildfire Nate Reese had his thoughts on that, to say the least. So certainly Mr. Reese certainly gave his opinions, and I'm sure that Mr. Costin would disagree with those, and understandably so. And anything you want to say to your tag team partner, Conrad Blaze?
I guess just that we do need to do things differently. We spoke about it. We need a different approach. And that doesn't mean, like I said, it doesn't mean be a jerk. It doesn't mean be a Nate, if you will. Yeah, it doesn't mean that, but it means that we need to just really get a strong tag focus going, because and I admit that I wasn't there when I should have been,
Right.
because I was delivering Billy and Bart, but yeah, we need a different approach. That's all I got to say. Look, I got a lot of love.
Don't tell me what the approach is now. Don't tell me the strategy. Don't tell me what that is, because listen, in order to be more successful, you've got to certainly do a different approach, because what's right now you guys have done, it's not working. There's no question it's not working.
Yeah, 100% fair. But like, I don't blame Conrad Blaze just because Chris Stone managed to get the better of him. I just,
let me ask you a question. I hate to put you on the spot, but if you were in that spot instead of your tag team partner, Conrad Blaze, do you think it would have been different?
That's a wild hypothetical that could drive a man crazy, my friend.
Oh, it would drive me crazy. I mean, we asked that with Nate Reese, and Nate Reese was blaming Bob Costin left and right for his team coming short in the tag team tournament originally. So,
well, look, it's like I'm not Nate Reese. I'm not going to pass no blame. That's a jerk move. But I don't know.
Move, you might say.
Yeah, he did. 100% is. Maybe not on the answer to Chris Stone. I don't know. Like I said, I was very tunnel visioned. I don't know what happened pre-hand. 1 minute he seemed to have it under control. I turned around on a count. He didn't have it under control anymore. But look, that can happen. That's wrestling. It can happen to any of us.
Things definitely happen, unfortunately, in the wrestling business. And the wrestling business is like show business, and certainly it's a rather eventful business, and things do happen. And before we get closing thoughts here, is there anything else that you'd like to say or address to anyone?
I guess we could address Mr. Fitz and Mr. Bibby about one more, because I've certainly got one more fight with Getsky and me. So yeah, I guess that's where my last address would go.
And we know that, listen, Mr. Fitzgerald is coming back on here April the 12th, which is right. And certainly we hope that Mr. Fitzgerald hears that in the passion that you have about sneezing. So certainly your sneezing means that you want to be out there in the ring. And certainly I'll ask Mr. Fitzgerald April the 12th. So we'll certainly find out. That's kind of our cue here that our time is getting short. But certainly, again, we want everybody to see the Scenario Nathan Gunn's match against certainly Mr. Getsky. And Davey Getsky yet again has a comment. I can't go away without it. He says, Slam a Getsky. That's what he said on Facebook. Slam a Getsky. I know you don't have a Facebook page, but that was his post yesterday. Slam a Getsky.
Well, I mean, look, it was last year. We'll see how it is this year, won't we? We'll see how it is this year.
Listen, Slam a Getsky 3 or Slam a Getsky 2 or Slam a Ganza, whatever you want to call it. I know one thing. Slam a Ganza won't be the same without the Scenario Nathan Gunn. I'm going to go on the record and say that. We cannot have Slamaganza without the Scenario Nathan Gunn. And I'm certainly for sure that Mr. Getsky might even agree, because I know Mr. Getsky, and Mr. Getsky is a competitor. He wants to go out there and win. He wants to compete, and he wants to compete against the best. And one of the best is our own, the Scenario Nathan Gunn. We got to have you on each week at this point. We got to talk with you each and every week at this point, because we've had you on so many times. It's just we gotta just make it happen.
Let's get the regular status confirmed.
You know what? We're gonna make that happen, because we're gonna bring back the Acid Stephen Cross. We know you and him certainly have differences. Wildfire Nate Reese will all of a sudden get wild to the fact that we have another person being added to the LWF team, and certainly I'm sure Bibby and Fitzgerald, they'll certainly get wind of it. So we'll definitely make that happen, and I think we're going to make that announcement here. So we're going to make the Scenario Nathan Gunn a regular of the Sportswire Radio family and the team. We love him too much.
It's basically been here anyway, hasn't it? We just needed to confirm it, didn't we?
At this point, why not? I mean, listen, we'll get Davey Getsky to come on each week and comment. We'll get fans of Bob Costin, fans of Chris Stone. We'll get Chris Stone himself. I mean, listen, why not? I mean, listen, why not? Listen, let's make it happen. But we're going to certainly do that here, and I'm excited for the future of the Scenario Nathan Gunn, regardless of him coming on the short end of the stick against Davey Getsky and the Wrecking Crew. So for you, my friend, I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to share? I can't thank you enough for all that you do for us. And the floor is yours.
Yeah, I guess, look, if you haven't bought a ticket to Slamaganza, do. Regardless of, whether or not I'm there, it's one hell of a show, and it will be. Look, it can't be 3 lots of Slamagetski, can it? So I need everyone there booing him, jeering him, and making sure you distract him, because I can't deal with another Slamagetski. I just can't.
Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I think that might just be the final word here tonight from the Scenario Nathan Gunn, and a rather impactful, interesting here Sportswire radio show here for the LWF Takeover. And again, if you like what you hear from the Scenario Nathan Gunn, please follow him on Instagram at Pro Nathan Gunn, the LWF on Instagram at the LWF Wrestling, and Twitter LWF, the Facebook page, please like. Also subscribe to the YouTube page. And again, I am always excited to speak with the LWF. You'll hear our segment with Wildfire Nate Reese tomorrow night. You can also catch us now on SoundCloud.com/The Sports Report 2019. We'll also play our audio shows from our LWF segments. We'll have the Acid Stephen Cross also back in the house. So I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. I want to thank everybody here for your patience and support of our segment here tonight with pro wrestling star here, the Scenario Nathan Gunn. You can also catch us on Roku for the Northeast Streaming Sports Channel. You can catch us tomorrow night on Linda and Mac McGrath's channel. I want to thank them for their support. You can also catch us on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio channel here in North Carolina. We will play this segment tomorrow afternoon there. So thank you, everybody, for watching, listening to this. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce, with our LWF takeover from our new regular and longtime friend here, the Scenario Nathan Gunn. Good night. And we'll be back here 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Sportswire Radio with the Sportswire Radio gang. Good night.